shit. Wait, hang on. Ah, no. Why is the webcam not showing up? Hold on. That's strange. It's never done that before. Okay. I guess no webcam then today. Hello everybody. You're gonna have to just imagine that I'm there. Hello everybody. Welcome back to the British Pokemon League week number 11. Honestly, improve. Week number 11. We are back once again, my dudes. We're closing in ever closer on playoffs now. We are just 3 weeks away until we hit our final week of the season and we hop on over to playoffs. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a ride, honestly. Like we kicked this thing off 11 weeks ago, end of January, and here we are now. We're really closing in on the business end of the season now, and it's starting to really hot up. The competition's really getting close. Let's take a quick look at that league table before we get on into the games. Bulu Boys still sat pet at the top of that table after moving back to the number 1 rank last week, getting that win over the Newcastle Thundurus. Silly Long Island Goomys losing out to Miami Heat last week, so those two now sharing a 6-4 record, and obviously Aaron getting the win over Gus's Aurora Articuno last week means all of our top 4 are on a 6-4 record. Newcastle Belgrade obviously losing out last week to the Charlotte Kings, so they're both now sat on a 5-5 record. It's just, honestly, it's just tight. Up and down the table, it is just tight. And out down the bottom there, we've got Newcastle Thundurus and Aurora Articuno. Of course, today, the 2 bottom sides and the 2 top sides both play each other. Bulu Boys will be taking on the Long Island Goomys. Newcastle Thundurus taking on Aurora Articuno. We've got 4th versus 5th as well. Glorious Surfers taking on Newcastle Belgrade. And Miami Heat take on Shadow Kings, now a final game of the week. But without further ado, let's take a look at the teams for our first game. It is the Bulu Boys taking on Long Island Goomys. Obviously, last time these two teams played, it was a 2-0 for the Bulu Boys. Silly, unfortunately, for not bringing the Gale Wings on the Fletchling, leading to his downfall in that loss. But close games. It was still close games. The second game wasn't as close, of course, but game 1 came right down to the wire, and I fully expect it to do the same. So obviously, Matt last week getting back to winning ways against Dave. Seeing that Pincer really come in and do some work, and Sableye finally making its appearance. It can just play so much spoiler with those Quashen and Ice, which plays is just such a good support Prankstermon. Matt starting to show that his team might actually be a little bit more versatile than it first looked. I said Pincer, Crocodile, P2 really come in strong recently, and obviously Dracofish as well has been a big part. We haven't seen too much of Scent Scorch in recent weeks, but I imagine Matt is. I imagine I'm gonna end up using it again at some point, but really enjoying using this team and looking forward to this game. Obviously on the side of Silly, we saw him employ the Comfy and Rapid Strike Airshrew last week. That is the Water Airshrew, and we saw a really interesting strat come out there. We saw the Weakness Policy self-proc on the Airshrew, and it just about nearly worked. Obviously netted him one of the game wins against Latvians Miami Heat last week, but wasn't able to do the business to get the match win. Again, like Lat's team, Silly's team is incredibly versatile. We've seen him run Weavile self-proc on the Sudowoodo. We've seen, before he dropped the Alchemy, we saw the Decorate play. We've seen Pinkirchen come out of Dynamax Pinkirchen. We've seen Decidueye Weakness Policy self-proc. Honestly, it is so difficult to call what Silly's going to bring, and that is just full credit to Silly's team. Full credit to Silly's team that he's built there, and this guy really knows what he's doing. But without further ado, we'll get on into our game number 1, Bulu Boys versus the Long Island Goomys, and there off the lead is Sableye and P2, and Dracozolt and Fletchling leading the line for Silly, so no Water Airshrew this time round. Are we going to see maybe try and get that Tailwind? Obviously last time Fletchling made his appearance in this matchup, Fletchling didn't have the Gale Wings off and wasn't able to get the Tailwind going. And that P2 just got a special attack boost because of download, and I would think that Matt's probably going to be aiming to Dynamax that. Sableye, I'm thinking you're going to see a Quash or an Encore or something come out here just to sort of put a bit of spoiler here. That's what Sableye's there to do, just sort of be an annoyance. Protect comes out from the Drake, so P2 goes go big. The Quash gets stopped by that Protect. Max Hailstorm hits into Drinkazort and takes it down to about 55% damage and does get that hail up, so that's going to do that chip damage to all the mons on the field. Comfey has now obviously swapped in. We know how dangerous that mon can be. It's very, very bulky Pokemon. Does not die easily as we've seen in recent weeks. Obviously, it lived a max ooze from the Slowbro Galar last week, so we know, again, similar to Sableye, has that triage ability, so it gets priority and obviously can run Ice Switch, so Matt is going to need to be wary of that. And you know, is Matt going to be running Ice Switch on the side with Sableye as well? That's something Silly's going to have to consider going into this matchup here. If the Ice Switch does come out, can Matt make the right call? And on the other hand, can Silly make the right call? You would think that the Dracozort's probably going to go for its Dynamax here. You know, try and get that electric terrain set up, and with that Hustle and Life Orb, it's going to be doing quite a bit of damage. You know, I would imagine that if it can move first, it's going to be able to just one-shot one of Sableye or P2 here as long as it gets to go first. Dracozort goes big. There's the Dynamax for the Dracozort. Ice Switch comes out from the Comfey. Encore for the Comfey from the Sableye. Max Lightning hits at the P2. P2 just tanks that. It does set up the electric terrain. There's the Max Hailstone at the Dracozort. Then Dracozort goes down. That is one down for Silly, and it is advantage to the Bulu Boys. P2 there putting in the work. You know, hitting another hailstorm there. Dracozort was never going to live that, but a great call by Matt to predict that ally switch there. Gets the encore on the Comfey. That Comfey, now if it stays in, it has got to just, all it can do is ally switch. It's just stuck doing that, and in comes the Weavile now. Weavile, obviously, it can run Fake Out. We've seen it run, you know, Ice Shard, Ice Cool Crash. You know, it's a strong Pokemon, it's a very fast Pokemon, so Matt's going to have to be wary of that. Obviously, Matt cannot use any of the Prankster moves on Weavile because it is a Dark type Pokemon. It's got a Dark and Ice type dual typing, so Sableye can only really do anything into that Comfey slot if Silly decides to swap something in here, you know, just to sort of reset that encore. And you know, allow him to be able to do something different here. So that's a good time from Matt there. It means Comfey's, you know, either stuck or going to have to swap out. And it just swap out. In comes the Fletchling. The Protect comes out from the Weavile. The Ally Switch comes out from the Sableye, which is interesting. There's the Max Lightning at the Fletchling. Make use of that electric terrain, and Fletchling just goes down. Did not stand a chance of that P2. And P2's Dynamax does end. And it's Weavile and Comfey now all up to these final two Mon for the side of Silly. Still all four Mons up on the side of Matt. And this has been quite a whitewash of a game. One numbers so far. Obviously that Weavile, strong attack, fast Pokemon, so you would expect Weavile's at least going to pick up a kill or two here. If Silly can make the right predict plays here and try and get rid of maybe that Sableye just to stop it from, as we said, playing that spoiler. P2, if it is going to be running recover, obviously Matt has that option just to sort of keep it at full health for longer. You can keep it healthy the better. Just trying to say if a good shot recovered with this. So yeah, there's the Giga Drain from the Comfey though, just to restore some of its health. The Ally Switch comes out from the Sableye, obviously that goes up after Comfey's healing because of the triage ability. Thunderbolt hits into the Weavile, and the Lietchiberry buffs the Weavile's attack. There's 1.5 times attack now from Weavile. That could be really, really big on the side of Silly, you know, if that Weavile can get something going here and just start taking ones out left, right and centre. It could be a way back into the game. And yeah, Comfey still sat at full health, as I said. It's running that Giga Drain. Can just sit and happily just replenish its health there and be pretty healthy. Matt doesn't really have anything to sort of take it out immediately. Obviously the P2 has a chance with that special attack but for the electric terrain. Maybe a Thunderbolt is going to do quite a bit of damage. There's the Floral Healing. Gets that Weavile back up to its full health. The Quash comes out from the Sableye, but it's Prankster, and Sableye goes down to the Edge Crush. A big mistake there from Matt, but it doesn't matter because Weavile goes down to the to P2's Thunderbolt. And in comes the Crocodile with the Intim, drops that Comfey's attack. Not that that's going to be all that matters, but Silly now does at least know that it is Intim Crocodile. Gets that Vision. The Giga Drain comes out the Crocodile, and it procs a weakness policy on the Crocodile. Crocodile now gets the 2 times attack, the special attack. Takes the Comfey down to the Sash with the high all-spell, and there's the Thunderbolt on the Comfey. And that's game number 1 for Matt. And that is 1-0 going our second game. A good first game there from the Bulu Boys. And in comes the game 2. P2 and Sableye leading the line. But this time, Weavile and Voodoo this time from Silly. Are we going to see the Surf under the weakness policy self-block this time? We saw it last time these two played. So are we going to see something similar? Let's see what happens. P2, obviously, I would think is going to go for the Dynamax again, just right off the bat. Sableye, if it's able to get it right, maybe goes for a quash on the Sudowoodo. But the Ally Switch comes out, the fling onto Sudowoodo, buffs its attack, and because of Rattle, buffs its speed as well. The Max Overgrowth from the P2, though, takes the Sudowoodo out. Sudowoodo goes down straight away. A great idea there from Silly. It was an interesting strat there, but Sudowoodo just goes down straight away and doesn't get to get it off, unfortunately. In comes the Comfey though. Grassy terrain now set up, so everyone on the field is going to be getting those health buffs once again. Sableye still kicking around. Obviously can go for that Encore or maybe an Ally Switch. Can't really go for a Quash here. Obviously Comfey, no matter what it does unless it goes for an Ally Switch, is going to go first. And Weavile can't be effective. The Ally Switch comes out from the Sableye. The Ally Switch comes out from the Comfey as well. Item Crush hits the Sableye. Max Lightning at the Comfey, takes it down below half damage. Sets up the Electric Terrain. So that's going to be good news for Matt for now. But if that Dracozolt hang around the back, Matt has potentially just set up the terrain for that Dracozolt, and that could be quite big for the side of Silly, you know, if that Dracozolt can get things going. There's the Encore from the Sableye, is stopped by the Protector. The Ice Cream Crush to P2 doesn't really do all that much. Max Lightning from on the Weavile takes it out, and that is now 2v4. Silly got it all to do. In comes Dracozolt though with that Electric Terrain now, and this could be really where Silly can get himself back into the game, you know. A Bolt Beak or, you know, a Max Lightning here into either of those Pokemon now that the Dynamax for P2's gone. It's going to really hit hard despite P2's Eviolite. I don't think it probably lives it. Ally Switch comes out from the Comfey. The Quash doesn't get to go off. Not able to break the Ally Switch this time. Max Lightning takes out the P2, and that is 1-1 down. P2 finally stopped. And, you know, P2 getting all the kills in that first game, and Silly finally able to take it out, but is now 3v2. Dracozolt, Comfey versus Sableye, and whatever Matt is going to bring in here as the option of Krookodile or Mawile there, as you can see on the bottom. Mawile, you know, it works really well in this matchup, but is not the most, you know, is pretty weak button. Gets the Intim off though, just rolls that Dracozolt attack, and I don't think with Hustle and potentially whatever it has going on, it's going to really matter too much. That Dracozolt is going to hit really hard, especially under that Electric Terrain. Obviously Dracozolt has been known to run the Max Quake as well, which Mawile is not going to enjoy taking, despite the Shuka Berry that you can see on it there. I would think it's probably still going to just one-shot it. And here we go then. Comfey, obviously we know, still has that Ally Switch going, can obviously offer that floral healing to the Dracozolt if it does take some damage, so if it can keep itself around for a couple of times, Dracozolt could really do some damage and you know, get the ball rolling here for Silly. Matt looking like he's going to take choose a damaging move on Mawile then, not going for a Protect. Ally Switch comes out from the Ally Switch from the Comfey as well. Max Lightning takes out the Sableye, but Matt is got the Predict right. Play Rough takes it. Dracozolt down to 40% hit health. Another great Predict from Matt there, and in comes the Krookodile to get the other Intimidate off. That is now half the attack on the Dracozolt. That Dracozolt is still going to hit really hard. Don't get me wrong. But that's going to be good news for Matt, at least once the Dynamax ends, if he can live it out. And now, what Silly you would presume is going to have to go for a floral healing here. He's got to keep Dracozolt alive. You know, if he gets a prediction wrong on the Ally Switch here, you know, Dracozolt's going to go down, and then it's left to all up to Comfey to get the job finished. A lot of Ally Switches in this game. It became a sort of war of attrition at this point, but at least Sableye is now gone from the side of Matt, so but yeah, Silly is there's the floral healing, as I said. This Dracozolt up to 65% HP. Max, the high horsepower doesn't quite take Dracozolt out. Max Wormwind into the Krookodile, drops his attack, takes it down to about quarter HP. There's the Play Rough, it does hit, and the Dracozolt is gone, and it is now Comfey versus the world. Mawile and Krookodile. Leave it all up to do, with everything to do. Comfey now, just all he can really do here is Giga Drain, try and hang on. The Endure comes out for the Krookodile. Giga Drain hits into the Krook, takes down 1% HP, does proc that weakness policy on the Krook. Iron Head from the Mawile doesn't quite take Comfey out. Comfey just to say hanging on, and that is going to be the game though. Comfey's not going to live another attack, unfortunately, even if it gets a Giga Drain up. I think that's going to be it. And there's the floral healing onto the Krook. High horsepower takes it out. That is game number 2. Is the camera back? The camera is not back, so we'll move straight onto the info screen for game number 2. Great games there to Silly. Really enjoyed that one. Yeah, Yeah, at the end there, I think Silly realised it was up and was just like, might as well just heal him. But we go on our game 2, and it is our bottom of the table clash between Newcastle Thundurus and Aurora Articuno. Newcastle and Aurora both sat on 3 and 7, have not had the best of times in the league so far. Obviously, Dave's got those 2 wins over the Inglorious Surface and the win over Shadow Kings of week 1, but has had a bit of sort of indifferent form and quite a few heavy losses since. And on the side of Gus as well, has been bringing the same setup to each game, and it's maybe made him a little bit sort of easy to predict, and it's not really gone too well for him so far, especially this half of the season. Obviously, he hasn't picked up a single win just yet, but that could all change. It could go either way here. Both teams have it all to play for. Obviously, this is a huge game. The loser of this match is unable to make winners bracket. The loser of the game cannot make winners bracket mathematically. So they will be the first team confirmed for our losers bracket for playoffs. The winner still has a chance. They will need to win every other game remaining this season, but you've got to be in it to win it, as we say. Dave, last week, obviously, we saw him bring that Aegis Slash, the Lantern, and the Rabombi came along. And obviously, we saw the Dynamax from the Incin there. Incin really proving why it's such a strong Pokemon. It just does not go down very easily at all. Able to pick up a couple of kills last week. And Aegis Slash as well, also adding to its kill its kill list. You've got to expect that the G-Max Lapras and the Whimsicott are going to be really big for Gus here. Maybe if he decides to bring the Vikavolt or T-Tar, you could see T-Tar do some work here as well, especially if Incin comes on the side of Thundurus. But I would expect it's going to be the same old 4 for Gus, the trusty Quadro. And now let's get straight into our second game then. Newcastle Thundurus versus Aurora Articuno. And it is Incin and Aegislash leading the line for Dave, and it's Dusclops and Whimsicott leading the line for Gus. We've seen this duo a few times for Gus. Typically, he'll go for the Dusclops and Lapras game 1, and then he tries something different with Dusclops Whimsy game 2. But trying it in game 1 this time, just to try and ensure he gets some kind of speed control up. Obviously, if you can get a Tailwind off over Dave, he knows Dave's team is works under the trick and gets so he could make him faster. But the gets the flinch on the Whimsicott. Shadow Ball comes on the Aegis Slash, but Dusclops just about hangs on from that. It's a surprise we've not even but it hits the Rock Tomb, so no Trick Room this time, and it does proc the Incin's Weakness Policy, so Weakness Policy Incin on the side of Dave. That's something you don't really see all that often, but that could be really huge here. If Incin can get rolling here, we have him to stop. But there's the Tailwind from the Whimsicott. Shadow Ball hits it, it just stops, and that Dusclops is now gone. There's the Max Flare from the Incin. That's also going to take Whimsy off as well, and that is now 4v2. Lapras and whatever he's got in the back of the T-Tar. Lapras and T-Tar with it all to do. Sorry about the screen freeze there as well. So you're going to see the G-Max from the Lapras here try and get something going. But with that Sun Up, I don't think that Max Guys is really going to do all that much to Incin here. Protect comes out from the T-Tar. There's the Max Guys in the Incin, and yeah, 20% HP, not really doing very much at all. Shadow Ball hits into the Lapras, and there's the Max Knuckle from the Incin onto the protected T-Tar. Does about 40% damage there. Gets a bit more attack on the side of Incin. But that does mean that the rain is up, so Lapras is going to be moving before Incin here, so this could be bad news for Incin. If it can't tank this hit, that Lapras is going to be able to get things going. There's the crunch from the T-Tar, though, takes out the Aegis Slash gone, and there's the Max Guys up in the Incin just to say hanging on. Max Flare into the Lapras, takes it down below 50% HP, and does get that Sun Up now. So that is going to weaken that Lapras just that little bit more. And in comes the Lantern. So Lantern, Gus is going to have to be very careful here because he's going to have to predict whether it's Water Absorb or Volt Absorb. If he gets it wrong, obviously it's a wasted attack. But T-Tar could be the only saviour here. Both of Gus's Pokemon got to have HP. There's the Rock Slide from the T-Tar, takes out the Incin, and Lantern just about hangs on. There's a Max Guys in the Lantern, learns that it's not Water Absorb, and does get that Rain Up. The Lantern does get flinch from that Rock Slide as well. Lapras's G-Max ends, and it is now a 2v2. Gus able to get 2 kills in quick succession there to bring himself back in the game. There's the Rabombi. The Rabombi is going to be faster than everything on the field here, and that T-Tar is not going to enjoy taking a Moonblast from the Rabombi. There's a Protect from the Lantern. Moonblast into the T-Tar, takes it out, and it's now 1v2. Lapras with it all to do. Thunder hits into the Rabombi, but Rabombi is just hanging on, just just tanks that damage. So obviously some special defense investment onto the Rabombi there. And this is going to be game number 1. Lapras with it all to do now, and that Rabombi is going to outspeed. There's the Moonblast into Lapras, takes below 20, drops his special attack. Thunderbolt from the Lantern takes it out, and that is game number 1 to Dave. First blood to Big Dog Dave and Newcastle Thundurus. And into game 2 we go. It's the same lead from Gus, and it is this same lead from Dave. Incin and Hydroslash and Whimsy and Dusclops. Obviously Gus now aware of that Incin's weakness policy, so he's going to have to be careful not to proc it. But if he can't get the rain up, you know, it's going to be very difficult for him to not proc it with Lapras, really. You know, he's typically been running the Geyser, the Max Lightning and the Resonance move. There's the Tailwind though from the Whimsy, no fake out this time. There's the Snarl from the Incin to drop those special attack stats and attacks with the stance chain from the Hydroslash. Shadow Ball hits into the Dusclops. That little bit of chip damage from Snarl, enough to take Dusclops down, so the Shadow Ball takes it out. So no speed control this time from Dusclops, no Trick Room, so Whimsicott has it all to do in terms of speed control, but Gus now does have that 3 times of Tailwind, and in comes the Lapras, as you would expect, to get that G-Max up and start taking hits. You're gonna think that Incin's also gonna go for its Dynamax here. You know, if that Incin can tank a Max Geyser, which you would expect it can after it tanked a one in the rain in the last game, you know, it's going to proc the weakness policy, and then Gus is in quite a bit of trouble. Incin goes for his D-Max. There's the Helping Hand from the Lapras. That might be enough to do, but it's not. Only just half damage to the Incin, does set up the rain. There's the Max Flare into the Whimsy. Whimsy hanging on through that because of the rain being up. Shadow Ball hits into the Lapras, trying to get those special defense drops onto the Lapras. And now the Sun is up, and that's going to really mitigate the damage that Lapras can really do here. You know, Whimsy can really only just sit there and Helping Hand, to be honest. You know, a Moonblast is not really going to net him too much damage here, especially how tanky that Incin is. You know, there's the Helping Hand from the Whimsy again. Max Geyser hits into the Incin. Incin just hangs on again. There's the Max Flare onto the Lapras, takes it down about half damage, gets the Sun up. Shadow Ball as well. Good call there from Dave, doubling into the Lapras, knowing that the Whimsy can't really do anything. And that's the Lapras is now just sat on 27% HP with it all to do. Hydroslash still just sort of comfortably hanging on. And there's only 1 turn of Tailwind left, so Dave's been able to just sort of hang on right through this Tailwind. Gus are really not able to get anything going, just not able to stop that Lapras. There's the Max Guard from the Lapras. The Moonblast not enough on the Incin. The Max Flare takes out the Whimsicott. The Shadow Ball obviously stopped by that Max Guard from the Lapras as well. Lapras's G-Max ends, Incin's Dynamax ends, and it is now Tita and Lapras versus Incin Hydroslash. Dave not losing a single Pokemon here, which is amazing stuff, to be honest. I don't think Dave's had a game yet where this has happened, so absolute props to Dave. He's played this game 2 absolutely perfectly. There's the Flare Blitz on the Lapras, so Incin is going to unfortunately go down. Flash Cannon from the Hydroslash gets game number 2, and that is going to be the 2-0 win for Dave's Newcastle Thundurus. And, oops, sorry about that. And what a win for Dave, getting that win and keeping himself into the shout of making the winners bracket of playoffs. Massive props to Dave. Unlucky to Gus. I'm sure there's obviously still every chance Gus can bring it back in through losers bracket. Gus is not completely out of it yet. But yeah, great games from both coaches there. Yeah, really good stuff. Everything you'd want from a bottom of the table clash. And that Incin, I don't think anyone expected it to be living any kind of Max Geysers from the Lapras, but damn, it definitely did do that. So that's something for people to watch out for, you know. In our game number 3, we've got Inglorious Surfers taking on Toadstar Belgrade. Obviously, last time these two played, I think was week 2. I think that's how far back we're going. It was week 2 these two guys played, and it was the 2-0 win for Toadstar Belgrade. Golisopod putting in all the work in that game. Obviously, no Golisopod on the side of Toadstar Belgrade now. All change on that team, as we were well aware of. Not had the best of times since the restart, losing out to Silly and Dogsy, but getting the win over Latvian. So we'll be looking to try and find some form here and get another win. And obviously, Aaron, honestly on a tear at the moment, 5-1 since week number 4, has moved him from bottom to the table to the top 4, and now sits on a cushy 6-4 record. The G-Max Hatterene has just been so good for him. And we've obviously seen last week as well, we finally saw the justified beat up play on Terrakion, and we saw just how strong that lineup is. You know, Gus's team just didn't stand a chance once the Terrakion got going. We know how good Scrafty is as well. Scrafty and Gigalith have been a really strong duo under Trick Room as well. That Scrafty really does hit hard, and Winner's Policy on the Gigalith as well, ensuring that it also hits really hard. Obviously, Aaron could choose to play spoiler here with Zoroark. We saw Zoroark against Dave a couple of weeks back, but hasn't really been seen since, but that is an option there. And of course, if he is going to run the Hatterene, you would think that the Indeedee is going to come along with it, just so the Indeedee can use that follow me play, just to let Hatterene do its thing, get things set up. On the side of Wheel though, we saw the other week against Slap that the Biosharp really coming in big, but in recent weeks he's tried to get things going with the Kingdra, with the Torracat and the Ludicolo, and not quite worked out. Got very unfortunate with the Paralyzers last week against Dogsy, as I'm sure he'll reiterate in chat, but you know, that's Pokemon, unfortunately. He's been playing very well though, and this is going to be a really close game, 4th versus 5th. So let's get right in. Well, let's not waste any more time and get right into the game. And there we go then. It is Politoed and Ludicolo on the side of Tozabagrin, and Dugtrio and Terrakion on the side of Aaron, going for that beat up justified play again, like we saw against Gus last week. Politoed and Ludicolo, though, you would think that Ludicolo is either going to go for that fake out or is going to go straight for a D-Max here. Just try and get Terrakion taken out. Obviously, Ludicolo with that Swift Swim ability is going to mean that it's going very quickly right now. It's it might be dancing quite slowly, but man, that thing moves quickly. And obviously, Politoed, we know, can be quite bulky, quite a bulky Pokemon, and we've seen it from Parasol as well in recent weeks as well. So Aaron's going to have to watch out for that in the late game if that Politoed is still hanging around. But yeah, Ludicolo! Ludicolo goes large, and the Terrakion also goes for the Dynamax. Helping hand from the Politoed, and there is the beat up play on the Dugtrio. The screen is now going to fill up with that Terrakion's justified, and the attack rising, as we saw before, completely just closes the screen. And there's the Ludicolo. Max Geyser takes out the Terrakion, and that's an absolute disaster for Aaron in this game one. Terrakion not even getting a turn of Dynamax up, and that's really bad on the side of Aaron. Aaron with it all to do now. While that rains up as well, that Ludicolo is going to be really hitting hard. Intim comes out from the Scrafty bundle. It's not going to matter too much if that Ludicolo is a special attacker. And instead, Politoed's going to just be able to sit there and and just sit in helping hand and just play support to this Ludicolo while it gets going. Scrafty can obviously go for a fake out here, try and stop that Politoed from getting anything off here, but I'm not too sure what the Dugtrio can really get going in this situation. But it does swap out for the Indeedee, gets the Psychic Terrain up. Max Geyser hits into Scrafty. Scrafty just about hanging on there thanks to that's just the def investment. There's Scald on the Indeedee as well. There's the Toast Combat taking Ludicolo down to about half HP. Indeedee just hanging on from that Scald in the rain as well. I think we're going to see a follow me from that Indeedee on this next time as well, just to try and keep Scrafty around for a little bit longer. You know, we just saw how much of close combat Ludicolo. There's the follow me as we expected. Max Geyser does take the Indeedee out. And there is the Scald on the Politoed as well. Scrafty goes down. It's all up to the Dugtrio in this game one. And this is going to be, that's going to be a 1-0. Aaron really just falling to bits there with that lead. Leaf Storm from the Ludicolo gets it done. That is game number 1 to Toadstar Belgrade. Aaron getting 4-0'd in that first game, but I'm sure he's going to bring it back in the next two. Now he knows that that's not going to work. But in we go to game number 2. There's the Hat and there's the Indeedee, the rightful duo, and in comes Torracat and Bisharp on the side of Wheel. So we are also choosing to switch it up as well. Psychic Terrain goes up for that Indeedee. And I would think, as we said, we're going to see that follow me. The Psychic Seed comes out from the Hat as well, so it's going to give it that split death boost. Which could be really important considering there's quite a few special attackers on the side of Wheel. Bisharp goes for Dynamax. There's the Max Quake on the Indeedee, takes it down with Sash. Gets that Spadef move from Bisharp and Torracat, and there's the Crunch on the Indeedee. Hatterene going for that Trick Room just to get that speed control up for Aaron, so that's really big news. Obviously, not really too much Rio can do about that while that Indeedee follow me, so just has to try and play around it. But that Spadef boost could be really big for Bisharp. Now that Indeedee's gone, there is no follow me now for the side of Aaron. So Aaron just entirely relying on Hatterene doing the work. In comes Scrafty to get that attack drop, but it does prop the Defiant on the Bisharp, so that's really, really big news. Bisharp, you know, with this death move and boost and the attack boost now, looking really, really, really strong. That Hatterene's gonna have to be really, really careful here that it doesn't just get one shot here by a max steel spike. And also needs to be careful of that Torracat as well. Obviously, it's the second Evo of the instant Evo line. If that Torracat's running parting shot, it could be a repeat of the Dave game where Hatterene just gets bounced out of here. But yeah, Bisharp obviously is going to be weak to fighting these here, so Scrafty's in a bit of a good position here. He might be able to do just enough to that Bisharp to take it out. Torracat as well. In a half decent spot. There's a G-Max Smite onto the Bisharp, does about 30% HP, does get that confusion up. There's the CC onto the Bisharp, and Bisharp goes down. Scrafty putting in the work there, Bisharp's down the confusion comes out, Magic Bounce, there it is, Hatterene gets bounced out thanks to the parting shot, and the Hatterene's G-Max also ends, but does get that all-important confusion on the Torracat, which can be really big, stops it from sort of playing spoiler and doing it with it. In comes the Ludicolo now. We know how hard Ludicolo can hit, we just saw it do the work in game number 1, so Aaron is going to have to be watchful of that. Has been running you know, an Ice Beam before, so that Thwacky's in a bit of a spot here if it can't stop Ludicolo from getting an attack here, but with that Trick Room going up, that's going to mean that Aaron's going to be able to go fast here. You know, Scrafty's still hanging on, still just bobbing his head along, you know, pulling up its pants. It's been pantsed by someone, obviously, and it's just trying to hold them up so it doesn't get embarrassed. Ludicolo just bopping away. Honestly, it's like we're in a dance party right now. Everyone's just sort of like jumping around. You see Thwacky with some drums right now, and it's a party. But yeah, that Torracat does have the confusion, so the confusion does hit for Wheel. It's going to nullify Torracat for another time. Torracat does hit itself in the confusion. Close combat comes out on the Torracat. Torracat obviously only fire type, so it doesn't do as much. There's the knockoff on the Ludicolo, knocks off its life off. There's the Lee Storm into Scrafty done. Scrafty goes down to that. It is now 3v2. Hat and Thwacky with it all to do. But while that Trick Room's up, that Hatterene's in a very, very good spot. And you know, Thwacky is going to be, you know, if that Politoad's hanging around in the back there for Wheel, that Thwacky does have that grassy glide that Rillaboom gets, and while grassy terrain's up, it's going to be doing quite a bit of damage. We know obviously now it has knockoff as well, so Wheel's going to have to be watchful of that. But yeah, what can Ludicolo? Ludicolo's obviously dropped its special attack now because of that Leaf Storm. So Ludicolo might be on a little bit of a spot itself here. Obviously that damage output really, really nullified now on the side of Ludicolo. But still just dancing along, bobbing along while our coaches choose what they want to do in this next 10. Might be 2v3, but you know, both of Ludicolo and Torracat down to about half HP, so there's a little bit of an advantage there for Aaron if you can get one or two of these, or both, you know, both KO'd on this 10. You know how hard Hatterene can hit with the Dazzling Gleam. See now doesn't have that death boost that it got from the Psychic Terrain, so that's something Aaron's going to have to be watchful for. Ludicolo's dad gives me life as well, it's just so happy. Oh, but Ludicolo swaps out. In comes the Politoad to get the drizzle up. There's the Dazzling Gleam on the Bullmans. Gets the crit on the Politoad. Wood Hammer on the Torracat. Torracat just about hangs on there. Just set up the rain. And there's a Flare Blitz onto the Thwacky. Torracat just not quite taken out, but it doesn't really do much to the Thwacky now that rain's been set up by the Politoad. That could maybe be a little bit of a mistake there from Wheel. Stopping that damage output from the Torracat. It might have done a little bit more of that Thwacky there. You know, that's going to be Politoad's main sort of danger mon here. Torracat though, still hanging on, just still kicking about. And that Dazzling Gleam getting the crit as well. That could be really, really big for this game too. There's the Protect from the Politoad though. Grassy Glide doesn't go off, so it doesn't really has that Dazzling Gleam. It's going to take Torracat out, and that is going to bring Ludicolo back into the fray. Trick Room ends, and that is going to be great stuff for Wheel. The Ludicolo now is going to be uber fast. Is going to get to move first, and you know, it's definitely its advantage Rio in terms of speed control, but while that Thwacky's hanging around, that Politoads are not going to enjoy taking a grassy glide from Thwacky, and grassy terrain's up, so that Thwacky is always going to go first if it grassy glides. And Ludicolo's got a lot on its plate. It's got a lot to do here. You know, you've got a full health Hatterene still kicking about, and that thing does not die easily. Thwacky does look like some sort of some sort of bouncer in some sort of weird Jamaican club or something. He ain't letting anyone in without RD. Helping Hand comes out from the Politoed. Grassy Glide hits the Politoed. Politoed rolls out. Ludicolo with the Ice Beam, but Thwacky hangs on with 1% HP. That could be really huge. And there's the Trick Room for the Hatterene as well. Ludicolo in all sorts of trouble now. Not getting that kill on that Thwacky. That is really, really huge. Thwacky living on 1% HP. Who would have called that? Especially with the Helping Hand on the Ice Beam as well. Unbelievable. See, it's Thwacky just really living. There's the Psychic on the Ludicolo. Woodhammer on the Ludicolo. Ties things up. Great games from Aaron there to tie things back up. What a hell of a game too as we move on to game number 3, the deciding game. Unbelievable, Jeff, right there. Game number 3, here we go then. I would think we're going to see the same lineup here from Aaron. And in comes the Ludicolo and Politoed, the lead we saw in game 1 for Rio. As we said, there's the Indeedee and Hat. Gets the Psychic Terrain up, and the Rain is up on the side of Politoed. Ludicolo comes dancing back into the fray. As we said, we saw how strong that was in game number 1. Whether it's going to be as strong here remains to be seen. Obviously, that happens on the split. There's the Dynamax during the Ludicolo as we expect. The Follow Me comes out from the Indeedee. There's the Max Geyser on the Indeedee. Takes it down with Sash. Is it going to be a double in there? The Skull takes out the Indeedee as well. That Trick Room is going to get set up for the Hat though, and that is going to mean Ludicolo is going to be going dead last while that switch spins up. So in comes the next Pokemon for Aaron. Is it going to be Thwacky? Is it going to be Scrafty? Let's see. In comes the Scrafty though, gets the attack drops on Ludicolo and Politoed. As we said, it's not going to matter too much. That Scrafty can hit really hard under Trick Room. You know, it's going to be one of the first ones to move. It's going to be right after Hat, and that close combat we saw how much it did to Ludicolo in game number 2. Yes, it does get the defenses for death drop from doing that, but you know the damage output is so good from it that it's in a really good spot here. And if that Bisharp's coming along the back for Rio, then that Scrafty's in a really, really good spot. We saw how much that did in game number 2 as well. Dynamax Bisharp is absolutely young to get to another dimension. Ludicolo still just dancing away. I would think we're going to see the G-Max here from the Hatterene get a Smite up, and where Aaron will be trying to get that confusion going. Just to play spoiler here, you know how important those confusions can be for Aaron. There it is, there's the G-Max from Hatterene. Helping Hand comes around from the Politoed. G-Max Smite into the Ludicolo, takes it down to 62, gets the confusion on both Mons. Close combat into Ludicolo. Ludicolo hanging on, gets the defenses for death drop from the Scrafty. Ludicolo hits itself though, and oh no, that's a Dynamax turn wasted. Ludicolo doing a bit of chip damage to itself there, unfortunately. And Ludicolo might be dancing, but it is really confused as to why it's dancing. It tried to do some hip-hop breakdance and just kicked itself in the face. And Hat doing what it does best with that G-Max Smite. Something you're really, really going to watch out for going on against it. It's such a strong move. And both Politoed and Ludicolo, as we said, confused now. We know how hard that Scrafty can hit it. This could be the end of Ludicolo this next turn. You know, you don't know whether it's even go for a max guard here, because confusion, you can still hit yourself through that. So it's a toss-up of really what you want to do here when you're in this situation. Aaron with all the cards on his side though, obviously only Indeedee going down thus far. It is 3v4, but there's a little bit of confusion. There's the Torracat swapping in, gets that Intim onto the Scrafty. He's going to stop the attack on. Max Overgrowth hits into the Torracat, does set up the grassy terrain for himself. There's a close combat, does take out the Ludicolo, and there's Ludicolo's Dynamax ended. The dance party is ended. There's no more dance party. So Torracat comes on the field. Are we going to maybe see the parting shot again like we saw in the previous game to get rid of that pat? Or does it make more sense to just go for an attack? While that rains up and you see the Torracat can't really flare, but see, but in comes the Bishop. That Bishop, you know, at the moment, you can't really go for a stat drop on it. You're going to set up Defiant, but Bishop is very weak to fighting and fire, which are both on Scrappy and Hat. Obviously, we've seen Hat in that max fire in previous weeks. We know how close combat. So there's the fake out on the Scrappy stuff. The G-Max Smite. Oh, close the Bishop. It gets the confusion on the Torracat. Bishop going down the flinch on the Scrappy's not going to matter too much. And it is now Politoed and Torracat with it all to do. And that couldn't have went any worse that time there for Rio. Just one hit KOing it. And he said getting the confusion on the Torracat. You know, confusion is so strong, especially now we're in a couple of turns in. That's Crafty sat on half defense, half special defense, and a dropped attack, and is still just putting in the work. There's the Dazzling Gleam from the Hatterene onto board. There's close combat on the Torracat as well. Takes below half HP, just its defense, special defense a bit more. The Scald, Scrafty hangs on through the Scald, and Torracat does hit itself, but the aggressive frame does replenish some of that HP on all sides. Obviously, Hatterene still sat on full HP. And this looks like it's going to be a GG. This is game number 3, I would think. I don't really know what Poncho can do, especially now the rain has gone. Obviously, no one's in the back here for you, so can't reset that rain even. And while that Torracat's confused, it's in a kind of a bit of limbo. It's Pandora's Torracat. You know, and it hits itself again. There's the RNG again. The Scald into the Hatterene, trying to fish for that bend because combat takes out the Torracat again. Politoed 1v3. There's the Trick Room up again from the Hatterene. And that is going to be game number 2. A great match from both sides, honestly. After that game 1, it looked a little bit worrying for the side of Aaron, but he's really brought it back, and complete credit to him. The Hatterene just putting in the work and smashes its way up to number 1 in the most kills in the leaderboard now in the league. So cannot understand how good this thing is. There's the Thwacky. Giga Drain comes out on the pot from the Politoed, gets Hatterene back up to full HP. The Scald onto the Thwacky, trying to fish for that bend, doesn't quite get it. And that's gonna be game. Thwacky just needs to hit this Politoed now, and that is gonna be it. So great games. That Thwacky really got the protect from the Politoed. It's only going to really delay the Inello for a time, trying to hang on through that Trick Room, but I think that's going to be. There's the Giga Drain from the Hat. Gets another kill. Game number 3, and that is that. Aaron getting yet another win. Is now 6-1, sorry, since week number 4. Unbelievable record, and now going to move up that 7-4 record. And yeah, massive props to Aaron. You cannot understate just the run that he's been on in the last couple of weeks. The only blemish to that record, the loss to Dave in recent weeks. As we move on to our final game of week number 11, Shadow Kings versus Miami Heat. Two very, very good friends in Dogsy and Latvian. And last time it was a little bit of a whitewash. Latvian able to 2-0 their Shadow Kings last time, but Dogsy has changed his team around a bit now. We obviously the G-Max has swapped out for G-Max Venusaur, Kabalion and Dragapult now kicking around, and Vulpix, Krokorok and Ditto on Dogsy's side. We've seen that Ditto can really be a good bring for Dogsy in recent weeks, you know. If you can bring it in at the right time when an opposing mon's got a few stat boosts, then it can be a really good asset for you. And we know how strong the G-Max Venusaur and Kabalion can be. We could maybe see the beat up from the Kabalion on this week. It's not really something we've seen so far from Dogsy, but could be really really big here. And on the side of Lat, well, what can you say, Lat? Lat's team, you never know. A bit like Salise, you never know what you're gonna get. We've seen the Drifblim and Kangaskhan run Sucker Punch. We saw on Lipad using that copycat Trick Room on the Slowbro recently, Galar Slowbro. Obviously that the Torkoal as well has put in work under Trick Room recently, and we know how strong that G-Max Cinderace can be with the Libero ability. Kangaskhan as well with that Scrappy ability. Your Ghostmons are not safe from this mon. And Fungus as well, just the baby version of Amoongus with that Rage Powder and Sport can be really big as well. Obviously adding Mudstale to his collection of mons as well with that stamina ability can be really, really hard to beat. So it's very difficult to call what Latvian brings here, but I'm sure it's going to be a brilliant game. So let's get right on into our final game of the week. Miami Heat versus Shadow Kings. And Dogsy leading out with the Krokorok and Dracovish, and there's the Lipard and the Drifblim on the side of Krokorok getting the attack drops, and in comes the Wheezing Galar. Drifblim goes big, and there's the Sucker Punch. Self-proc on the Drifblim, gets that weakness policy up. The Thunder Wave from the Dracozolt does get that power ring, but Drifblim still gets its attack off. Max Phantasm hits the Dracozolt, and even with that berry, Dracozolt just goes right down with the Drifblim. Drifblim hits really hard. In comes the Krokorok again to try and get that attack drop, but it's not going to get it because the Wheezing on the field. Clear Smog hitting the Drifblim, and that resets his stats completely. Great play there from Dogsy, but the Wheezing Glad does go down to that Max Mindstorm there, and that is now 2v4. In comes the Cobalion, which Dynamaxes. There's the Tailwind from the Talonflame as well. Max Airstream hits into the Talonflame, takes down below half HP, gets that speed buff on the Cobalion and the Krokorok. Thunderclan hitting the Drifblim, not really doing all that much, but that Drifblim's Dynamax has now ended. Flabberous into the Cobalion, not going to do all that much, and there's the Max Rockfall into the Talonflame. Even with its Sharty Berry, Talonflame is not going to live that with 30% HP. And Dogsy really getting going. There's the Thunderfang on the Drifblim now. As Dynamax and the Drifblim goes down, it is now 2v2. What a comeback here from Dogsy. The quick draw there comes out from the Slowbro and Protect on the Lipad. Expanding Force on the side turn, that's going to hurt, but Cobalion just hangs on there. There's the Max Knuckle on the Lipad. Even through that Protect, does about 25% HP and does get that attack buff. Brick Break onto the Slowbro, not really doing all that much, but a nice bit of chip damage there. Cobalion still kicking about though. There's the Protect. Ironhead takes out the Lipad and the Slowbro with it also do now. There's the Thunderfang, does a little bit of damage there and gets the important flinch on Latvian there. So the Psychic Terrain ends as well at the perfect time. Expanding Force is going to hit the Cobalion out, but there's the Thunderfang on the Slowbro, and now it's going to be a war of attrition. The Cobalion, the Krokorok does take out the Slowbro Galado, and that is game number 1 to Dogsy. Who would have called that? Great plays there from Dogsy. Brilliant stuff to bring it back. What a game 1. Krokorok does swap in for the Dragon Ball, gets that Intim on the Cinderace and Talonflame, and in comes Ditto to copy that Talonflame. Cinderace goes for his G-Max, obviously it has to do when it comes. There's the Tailwind from the Talonflame, and Max Darkness hits into the Krokorok. Obviously he was trying to hit that into the Dracozolt slot, but Krokorok just sort of tanks that, does get the Death Drop for Troubles. Protect, stops him from getting a hit, and he hits, but the Brave Bird hits into the Talonflame. Obviously the Latvian Talonflame taking a little bit of chip damage there as well from the recoil. Tailwind comes out from the Ditto now. Dogsy's Talonflame. Max Airstream does take out the Talonflame, though that Cinderace hits so hard, and the Brave Bird from the Talonflame on Latvian does take out Krokorok, and that is now 4v2. Cinderace and Talonflame really putting in the work here, and in comes Cobalion with its Dynamax. Obviously Dogsy sort of waiting around to get the Dynamax going with the Sucker Punch, not quite taking out the Dragapult, but Talonflame does take out the Brave Bird. There's a Max Steel Spike in the Talonflame. Talonflame just tanking that, but does get a defense buff on the Cobalion, which could be really important. There's the Max Airstream on the Talonflame though, which also takes it out. Pyro Ball from the Cinderace, not going to do as much as it would have done if he didn't get that defense buff. So great play there from Dogsy to predict that. In comes Torkoal to get the Sun. Pyro Ball missing, and Rockfall from the Cobalion. This could take Torkoal out, but it doesn't. Torkoal just hangs on with the 40% HP. Heatwave not quite taking the Cobalion out. The Cobalion's Dynamax does end. The Torkoal whips out, and there's the Sucker Punch from the Cinderace to take out the Cobalion, and that ties us all up at 1 apiece. Great games there from Latvian, just playing around that Ditto play there. Dogsy very nearly got something going there at the end with Cobalion, but the Torkoal just too strong. And there's the Slowbro Galar, the Max Guard, the copycat Trick Room play that we saw in recent weeks. Shell Spy down from the Ditto that has copied the Slowbro, not quite doing enough. Does get the poison, but Lipad doesn't quite go down to that crunch. Fake Tears on the Ditto, and Max Mindstorm is going to take it out. That Fake Tears and the Trick Room play from the Lipad has just been so strong. Slowbro can just absolutely just wipe a team out of nowhere. In comes the Slowbro to get the drought up, and in comes the Dragapult. Protect comes out from the Krokorok. Eruption is going to do quite a bit of damage on the Sun. Takes Dracovish down to half HP. There's the Max Flare on the Sun. Dragapult still just hanging on through that. There's the Eruption. Takes both of them out. That Eruption is so strong under the Sun from Torkoal in the Trick Room. Cobalion now with it all to do. Obviously does still have his Dynamax, but Eruption is going to really hurt, and that is it. The Torkoal gets the job done against the Cobalion. Game number 3 to Latvians Miami Heat. And that is that, boys and girls. So as we move on to week number 12, let's take a look at our league table now after those games. Great games for both Dogsy and Latvian there, going to a game 3. always close games between those two. And really good stuff from Dogsy to get that game 1 win. Just playing it patiently to get that dynamic set up late game. And Cavalli proving too strong, and Krokorok. And thanks to those wins for Bulu Boys, Latvians Miami Heat, and Inglorious Surfers, they all moved to a 7-4 record. Bulu Boys hanging on another week on that top spot. And Goomys dropped from 2nd place to 4th, now on a 6-5 record. Both Wheels, Toadstar Belgrade, and the Shadow Kings dropped to a 5-6 record now. They've got it all to do now to make it into that top 4. Shadow Kings with a very, very important game next week. They play the Long Island Goomys. That could be really huge. You know, they get the win there. The Shadow Kings have well within a chance to get that top 4. And Wheels, Toadstar Belgrade are going to be taking on Aurora Articuno. Not Aurora Articuno. Taking on Newcastle Thundurus. So Dave obviously knows he needs to win that game to make it to top 4. So really important games. Obviously, we are on a little bit of a losing run now with that Toadstar Belgrade side. 2 games lost in a row, but I'm sure he can bring it back. Massive game next week, though. Probably the biggest game so far, I would say. We've got Miami Heat taking on Inglorious Surfers. 2nd versus 3rd battle. Obviously, winner will be going to an 8-4 record. The loser goes to a 7-5. But last time these two played, it was one of the closest 2-0 games I have ever seen. It was unbelievable, unbelievable scenes. And he said unbelievable jeans there. I was going to say unbelievable chair. And Bulu Boys at the top there, taking on the bottom side, Gus, Aurora Articuno. Last time those two teams played, it was a bit of a whitewash that game 1, but Gus able to bring it back and get the win for his first win in the season earlier on. So who knows how that one can go. You can never call anything in this league, honestly. You just can't. Anyone can beat anyone. And I'd say we've still got plenty of Pokemon to go, but we don't. We've got 3 weeks until we hit playoffs, so it's really, really, really closing in now. We've not got much left to go. But yeah, we've got some exciting games coming up next week, and I hope you'll join us for them. Unfortunately, no webcam. I don't know what's happened with that, but I will say my goodbyes all the same. Thank you all very, very, very much for watching this week and every week. I really, really do appreciate it. I hope you all enjoyed. I have been your host, Matt Starr, and I will see you all next Sunday from 1 PM. Mwah!